Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. I had a online meeting delayed, so you get the benefit of me giving you another essay to listen to. This is something that's been, I don't know, sort of not quite on the agenda for urgent, but something that I've wanted to talk about for a little bit. We're going to hire just for a short term, assignment. We're going to hire a guy who we already know, and he's done work for us in the past, and he's pretty good. So he's a bright guy, hardworking. He ticks all the boxes for what you think would be what used to be a model employee. He used to be one of the people who, as I thought I was, that could get hired on merit, or that my colleagues could get you. You can just get hired on merit. You've got the credentials, the achievements, the whole thing. People like him don't need to go through the patronage network or get hired on some fucking quota or something like that. Now he's in his, I think he's just turned 50. So, and he's got a pretty stellar record. But times are changing, and merit, particularly if you're a straight white male, merit means you're Hitler. If you've got a head on merit, because that means you have privilege. And they don't see the merit of the detractors and the race gender quotas and the race grifters and hustlers and the globalists generally who are trying to eradicate white people. They don't either don't care or don't understand or don't realise the hard work that these people have put in. While the gang and the hood are out just hanging out doing nothing. This guy would be one of the guys who was hitting the books so he could get a good pass in his exams and do well at school and university and so on, which indeed he does do. He's an industrious guy. He's the sort of guy to give him a job to do, he'll do it. He'll find a way of doing it. If he's stuck, he'll ask questions. Model employee. Now, so we're getting him to do this stuff, and he's talking about the amount of times he's been fired, and some of them weren't long-term gigs, so it's not like it was a long-term career gig. But say it's a 6-month gig, and a month or 2 months into it, they're already showing him the door. Or if it was meant to be full-time employment, he was getting fired. Now, in Australia, and I assume the rest of the world, in the sort of gig economy, even if it's a longer-term gig, the way it's done now is that you have people on probation for what used to be 3 months, then it became 6. In many places now it's a 12-month probation, which seems quite excessive. But anyway, if you're that unsure about the person you're hiring, why the fuck would you hire them in the first place? But it's applied very selectively. The probation thing, they seem very reluctant to any performance requirements or any scrutiny. It's just isn't put on the affirmative action hires. They're not scrutinised. They're not held to account, or nowhere near the same account. I'm unaware of any affirmative action hire or brown, black, lesbian, or anything like that that's ever been fired. I haven't come across them. No, there have been major retrenchments where the company may cut back 50% of its staff. You get that, and caught up in that are the affirmative action hires. But in terms of specifically saying you're fired due to performance, it just doesn't happen. That is not applied to these affirmative action hires, who nearly all of them are low performing. So if you wanted to fire people on performance basis, you could have a field day. You could get rid of all of them, but they're not hired because they're high performing. They're hired because they're black, lesbians, and that's the only reason they're there. And in order to keep them on the payroll, you then can't hold them to a high standard. But things have gone the reverse for white people, or particularly the straight white males. I mean, it's not so bad for white women, but straight white males, because not only are they're held to a much higher standard or a very high standard, but also it's gone in reverse in the sense that if they do a good job, then they're offending or creating anxiety for the low performing people. That is the affirmative action hires. So if a high performing straight white guy would make confident, self-assured, getting the job done, you make all these affirmative action hires feel that they're not up to it. They're anxious. You're making me feel bad about myself. You're humiliating me. You're Hitler. And these sort of sentiments go. They've been trained to think that way through college and through high school and so on. So they'll instantly go to that. Gee, that guy's a really high-performing, hard-working guy. White privilege, Hitler, Nazi. And that's pretty much how the mindset goes. So what I said to this guy, I said, look, and I decided to do this myself. Look, I'll do a reference check on you. So give me the names of these companies and the name of the people, and I'll contact them and purporting to do a reference check. I mean, given we're hiring the guy, if it was a reference check, so that wasn't a deception there. But the primary purpose of me doing this wasn't. I mean, I knew I'd worked with him previously. I know he's good, and we're going to give him the gig anyway. So it wasn't actually to check on his credentials. It was because of wanting to come to grips with just how bad things are and how difficult it's got for straight white males out there. Now, if you're looking, I mean, given we know this guy, he's really come to, or we called him actually on this one, but he's come to us as really part of a patronage network. We know him, and we're all kind of buddies. No, actually not buddies. I wouldn't rate him as a buddy, but I know him. I know his work, and I'm happy with it. And as indeed my colleagues are. So it's not an issue. So essentially, it's a patronage gig in as much as we all know each other. But these are gigs, these ones I'm reference checking, gigs he's got outside of the patronage network. In other words, he's been hired on some form of merit at least. So anyway, so I'm doing the call around. So that's what really this essay's about. So now he's been fired 5 times in the last 12 months, or was it 6? 5 or 6 times in the last 12 months. So he's lasting. Sometimes the interview process he has to go through takes longer than the time he's actually on the fucking job, which seems insane. But if they've taken that much time, put that much effort into hiring the guy, interviewing him and the testing and multiple interviews and this, why would they then show him the door after a few weeks? Didn't they know what they were hiring, or was he so much worse than expected, so much better than expected? Just not what they expected. So that was really going through this. So now I wanted to find out, has the guy done anything wrong or bad? Has he like fucked up royally, or did he grab the ass of his female colleagues, or did he make the most lewd and uncouth jokes? Did he arrive drunk? Was he tardy in arriving late? Did he arrive in a terrible state, badly dressed? Did he, throw a cup of coffee over the company's primary customers? Like something that would cause him to be fired, or anyone to be fired, if they misbehaved in a way. So I was trying to establish misbehavior and or incompetence. So that was the purpose of it, which, by the way, when you do a reference check, that is meant to be what you're checking on. So I went through the thing. Now, he's already given me the briefing. He's already mentioned this. And I suppose I was slightly prejudiced, I guess, by his version of events, which I believed and fully accepted. But I wanted to hear it from them, from the CEOs. Now, interestingly, the CEOs were all white men. So that's it's not like the CEOs were all black lesbians getting rid of the white boy. They were all white guys. I presume straight. I don't know. But none of them came across as particularly impressive. You're looking, wow, I think you've been over-promoted a bit. And you can, for me at least, given I'm dealing with business people all the time, have done for a long time, you can pretty much within the first few seconds determine the sophistication of the individual. Sometimes you get surprised. People are quite good, especially white guys, and they're good at pretending to be, they're able to sort of have this childlike voice, and they've got this sort of groveling-like demeanour, which is how I think straight white guys maybe got to do it to survive these days. I don't know, but I don't do it. So call up the first guy, And it's pretty straightforward. My name is Jimmy Jack, and I understand. We're looking at giving Billy Bob Smith a gig, and I understand he worked for you, reporting directly to you, recently. And do you mind if we? And no one said no. No one said fuck off. I'm not going to talk to you or anything like that. Um, all right, then I understand you let Billy Bob go. Is that correct? Oh, yeah, sort of, yeah, yeah. Well, I guess it was really a mutual understanding, but yeah, I suppose you could say that. So straight away they were, well, hold on a minute, you threw the guy out, and we've got the details of it, according to Billy Bob at least, and we've got the details of it. So why is this guy? I didn't say this, but I'm thinking this way. Why did the guy sort of pretend like, oh, maybe, and we kind of didn't really let him go, and it was, and that could have been the guy's worried about a potential lawsuit or something. I didn't get that drift from the tone, but nonetheless. So all right, then I just want to go through, and I'll go through the things. Was Billy Bob tardy? Did he arrive late? Did he arrive on time? And was he properly dressed and presented? And yeah. Did he do his job? Did he do his job well? Oh yeah, no complaints about his work. Yeah, he did his job. Oh, yeah, no, he was good. And, okay, all right then. Did he again? So did he misbehave with colleagues? Did he rape the receptionist or attempt to rape the receptionist? Yeah. Oh no. He was always very, very polite, and yeah. Oh yeah, no, that was okay. Yeah. And so you step it through, and what you'd think would be appropriate. Did he do his job well? Yes. Did he arrive on time? Work well presented, and did he follow instructions? Like you said, well, maybe the first thought I had would be, maybe he was, if he was given a direction, or go and do this, go and do that, would he try and, because he's the sort of guy who would discuss things. He wants to discuss things, and he wants to sort of go. And I'm not dissimilar, by the way, but he wants to discuss the major points. So now, given he's a reasonably high IQ guy, he can have that conversation. Not everybody can. And he can tend to see the traps and the pitfalls and the side issues, which I value, by the way, that he's got that capacity. Because if I say, can you do this, then he'll talk things through with me, and I appreciate that. But that's just me. So anyway, but no, I know he did as he's told. Yeah, he followed instructions. Yeah, one guy said, oh, he did what he's told, but he gave me some funny looks sometimes. So I'm not even sure what that meant, but maybe it was a querying or a questioning look. Maybe that's what was meant there. But I couldn't find anyone who could say anything bad about him. One guy said something along the lines of, was there any blemish you could talk about? Not really. Oh, there was this time when he said he'd do something by Monday, close a business, but it really, he didn't do it until Tuesday morning. So, okay, well, all right then. Now that's hardly a big deal. So I asked, is that a big deal? Was that a life-changing thing? Or, oh no, not really. I just remembered that. Yeah, no, it didn't affect anything, and it was okay. Well, so why are you mentioning it then? But I didn't want a guy to clam up, so I wanted to talk. So anyway, they I couldn't find not one. Now bear in mind, he's been fired 5 fucking times in 12 months, but not one person can say anything. And in each occasion, more or less the same response was, well, he appears to have done sort of been a model employee type thing. Why would you want to let somebody like that go? We're talking like C-level executive type roles here. We're not talking floor sweeper or parking lot attendant or whatever. So anyway, they couldn't. Oh well, and that's when it all got. Oh well, we've got a certain culture here, and it was kind of just not really fitting. It was a cultural fit, is what I'd say. And So you come back to think, okay, cultural fit, oh, fine. The guy's doing his job. He's not offending anybody. He's doing, he's not like grabbing the ass of the employee, doing what he's told. He's handing his reports in on time. He's well behaved, and as each of them said, doing a job. Why would you get rid of somebody like that? Wouldn't if you've got somebody, a model employee like that, why would you not make room for them almost if they're that capable? So anyway, on each occasion it was the same. More or less the same. You could almost say, what will the next person say? Well, they'll say what the last person said, and it's, well, he just didn't kind of, I don't know, he just didn't kind of fit in. That's all. And you'd think these people would be embarrassed by saying that you got rid of somebody because you don't really know why. I mean, fuck. But that was pretty much it. And my reading of this is, and again, these CEOs are all straight white guys. They're not the black lesbian getting rid of the white boy or anything. They're straight white guys. None of them impressed me as being high caliber. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Because Billy Bob is reasonably high caliber, so maybe they felt a little bit intimidated by this, this bright industrious dude or something. I don't know, but I suspect that did have something to do with it. But it comes back to the reality here is even I don't know if they're all straight, I think they were, even the straight white male CEOs, more than they've got itchy trigger fingers when it comes to taking the straight white guy out back and shooting him. They will do it without a second's thought, for no reason at all. You don't need a fucking reason. But when it comes to the low performing, black lesbian, the affirmative action hire, then they'll bend over backwards, triple bend over backwards to avoid making those people accountable or firing. And you can see the same in other areas now with the law enforcement and so on. Black Lives Matter can go and torch buildings and burn the place down and get a slap on the wrist. But a white person misgenders somebody and they've got carloads of fucking police at the door. If somebody walks through as in Washington DC on the wrong day, then they can be put in prison for years. If they're straight and white, they can be put in prison for doing nothing. But the black or the activists or the black lesbians burn the place down. That's not really right. They're only fighting oppression anyway, so that's okay. So we see this completely different levels of accountability, and so we're seeing this in pretty much all facets of life, whether it be education. Hey, straight white boy, you make way for that affirmative action, place getter at university or senior high school. It's in employment, it's so on. And I'll add another thing there. We're halfway through doing a survey. This is for a client, by the way. We're halfway through doing a survey on companies that hire and that have got these sort of monumental, when they put a job advert out on say the online job boards, it could be for anything, it could be for the parking lot attendant or the CEO, it doesn't matter. They'll have the position will be described, whatever it is, and then 3/4 of the space is taken up by their trumpet blasting on how diverse and how they believe in equity and they believe in LGBTQ and how you're allowed to put an LGBTQ flag in every room, and this sort of stuff that they carry. There's 3/4 of the job advert is about them virtue signaling. So anyway, those companies. So we've been making inquiries, about that. But again, telling them we're doing a survey. We don't tell them the background, why we're doing it, how it's going to be used, just as a survey about super woke organizations hiring on the basis of merit. And this is a touchy subject. We didn't think it would be, so we're a little surprised. And so what, according to the transcripts, I haven't made these calls yet, but according to the transcripts of the talks, these companies that are super woke, like Disney, LGBTQ woke on mega steroids, those sort of firms, very, very globalist, always pushing the globalist agenda. And they have these quite diverse workforces, and they're always doing press releases saying we've hired the first black lesbian, engineer or something like that. But so we call them and say, okay, you're looking at a C-level executive. Do you hire on merit? Absolutely, merit only, merit only. We would never do anything other than merit and triple merit, quadruple merit. We only hire people with 5 million PhDs. So they talk about merit as if it's utterly sacrosanct. They will only hire on merit, and yet they're as woke as fuck. So why won't they admit that they don't hire on merit, that they hire on race, gender quotas, and so on? So during the course of this, one of the outfits hired a obviously patently unqualified black guy for a role, like a C-level role. And so I picked this up and then said to the guys, you need to go back, follow this one up. They've said they only hire on merit, absolutely, race, gender, and sexuality, nothing to do with it at all, only merit. And then they've put this unqualified. But now, first off, when they were called, they tried to bullshit their way out of it and say, oh well, look, we were in a hurry, we had to fill the role, and this was the best applicant that came along, so we gave him the job. Just so happens he's black and gay. No, don't give me that. So anyway, this is my colleague did this, but so we stayed at it, and so they turned. There's a point when they realise they can't push the lie, the absolute lie that we're hiring on merit, which it was and is. So then as well, really we are hiring on merit because we're hiring on the merit of virtuousness, social virtuousness is the merit we're using. So, you may say it's merit in terms of competence and qualifications and credentials and experience, but that's Hitler. Hitler would do that. So only Nazis would talk about competence and qualifications and credentials and so on. That sort of merit is Nazi merit. We use virtue merit, social justice merit. We use that paradise is just around the corner merit. That's the sort of merit. And when we say merit, that's what we mean. So fuck off, Nazi. So that's they changed the whole definition of what the fuck merit means is changed in order to say, well, that's why we hired the black gay guy. We haven't finished that one yet, so I'll do another video on it. You were Tacitus Day, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.